Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, we're back in our scene again. You may immediately notice that there's a new object in our scene. I just threw a real quick crate in here. This is from the game objects, just to give us something with a little more shadow, something that's in front of the torches. Okay. A few other little details that I should probably go over. I messed with the torch sounds. I'm sure you can hear that right now. You can tell that you don't have to drop so far back before they actually go off sound. You can't hear them anymore. Right about here is where I can first hear them. All I did there, gang, was in the sound settings, I switched them from, I think I had them at 80 and I put them to 10, and I also did a custom roll-off. So we originally had a logarithmic roll-off, which kind of comes down here and ends up about here, which means anything past this point you can still hear the torch. So I dropped it all the way to 0 and kind of smoothed out this curve, so it's almost linear down in this range. Okay, so anything past 10 meters, you're not going to be able to hear that torch. Okay. Is there anything else that I did that I need to show you guys? Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the random light position script, because I did clean it up a little bit. One of the things I did is I went through and I corrected all the spelling mistakes of intensity, because apparently I'm completely unable to spell the word intensity. It just doesn't, my brain just won't do it right, because you guys probably noticed I had like 3 or 4 places in here where I did not spell intensity right, so I went through and fixed that. I've also renamed these variables to be a little more consistent. So we've got the position, I'll start with pause, the intensity all starts with intensity. Same with the variables as with the properties. I also changed the reference to the light to be consistent with our other script rather than saying light reference. I think in the other script I said I had the torch, so this is now the light. The other thing I did, and this is kind of interesting, is I took out some of the stuff that was in the start. And you'll notice I'm not setting light here. I've set it to public, and actually, since this is public, I should probably put this up in the properties section. So previously we had this private, and we used a get component command down here to grab it. Okay, now that happens at runtime. We can actually move that to design time by making it a public property, and then in the Unity editor, if we go to the torch, one of the torches, light source, you see it comes up here and it gives you this component box, and you can just drag the light source right into that box. Okay, so again, if I set this off, so there's none, you just drag, bink, and there you go. And now we've done it at design time, so it doesn't have to take up time during runtime to find that component and fill up that in. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I did. Okay, what we need to do at this point is start talking about optimizing the lights. Okay, right now we have 2 lights, and everything works. They're working the way we want them to. But now we got to think about 300 lights. And what happens if there's 300 lights in the scene? I can tell you from experience that if we put 300 lights in this scene, the way things are set up right now, our frames per second will be right around 1 or something like that. So we got to figure out a way to, if we want to use dynamic lights, to fix this. Now, there's one thing we could do is use static lights, light maps, and things like that. There's a few problems with static lights, and I might take an episode to go over why I'm probably not going to use many, if any, static lights at all in this game. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a little while, or maybe in another episode. First of all, we need some way of measuring our performance, okay? And I would like to do this in real time. So if we run right now, we do have this little stats button, which gives us some basic information. It gives us frames per second. I can tell you guys this isn't accurate. This is I'm not quite sure what Unity is measuring here, but it's not frames per second. It's just I don't know what it is. It's not right. Unless they fixed it in Unity 5, but I doubt it, because we should be running at way more than 70 frames per second right now. So what we want to do is set up some statistics for ourselves. Sorry guys, I got a fly buzzing through here. That gives us a little more information in this little statistics string, and also that we can customize. Okay, so let's get this started. This should be fairly simple, although I need to warn you guys, the way Unity does graphical user interfaces has changed significantly since Unity 4. Actually, I think it was in Unity 4 point something, 4.2, 4.3. They completely changed how this is done. So this is kind of new to me, and I'm kind of doing some of this off the cuff. I don't really have much pre-coded for this, so if I flail about a little bit, you're gonna have to forgive me. This is new to me. I'll do the best I can. I think I know what I'm doing. I've played around with it a little bit. Hopefully we can at least get it all figured out. Maybe we'll figure it out together. So, okay. What I want to do, let's close up the torches. Oh, that's the floor. Here, let's rename this. Floor. Okay, I'm going to create in here an empty object, and I'm going to call this underscore UI components. This is really just an organizational tool. We're not going to put anything on this object. This is an actual object. It has a transform, so it has a location, but I'm not going to put anything on it for the moment. Now I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to create a UI, and I'm going to put on a canvas. Okay, now this is where things get new for me. So here, let's focus on the canvas. Okay, I think we want to leave all of the defaults pretty much alone. We want screen space overlay. We want a constant pixel size, regular scale factor. I think all this should stay the way it is. Okay. This also added an event system. I'm going to delete this. We don't want this event system. Okay. So, anything you want on the canvas has to be a child of that canvas. So what I'm going to do is right click and put in a UI text. Now if you look real close, it's backwards, so we're backwards on the thing. There we go. So you can see right in the middle it's got a new text thing. So if I run this right now, remember this canvas is a overlay. So you can see new text is sitting right there, and it moves along with the camera, right? Which is fine, that's what we want. Alright, so this text, I'm going to change the anchor to upper left. And then I'm going to set the position X. Let's drop this guy over here. We want him up in the corner. Something like this. I'm going to change his font size down to, I think, 10. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, you can barely see him. Maybe a font size of 10 is too small. Let's try 12. Okay. And I'm going to drop them down just a little bit more. Alright. Height of 15. Here, let's focus in on that some more. There we go. That's better. Okay, I'm going to change, right now we're calling him text. Let's call him our FPS counter. And I'm going to change his text to FPS counter. Okay, and I think we're good. Everything else can stay more or less the way it is. So I'm going to duplicate him. And the duplicate I'm going to drop down, and we're going to change this to light counter. Change his text to light counter. That'll count the number of active lights that are in the scene. And we'll duplicate that again. And I'm going to call this distance check counter. Now we can always add to this later, guys. But for right now, those are the checks we kind of need, or we will need. The other thing I'm going to do is change their default color to white, just so I can see them. And there you go. So if we run that, we should have up in the counter, up in the top corner, some statistics, or well, a text anyway, where we're going to put our statistics. Okay. Now we need to update these, and we're going to do this through script. So in my scripts folder, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to go UI scripts, just so we can put our user interface scripts in their own folder, just for organizational purposes. I'm going to create a new C# script, and we're going to call this let's call this FPS counter. Okay, let's pop that open. Okay, let's close that. Let's close this. First of all, because geez, would you just grab? I'm going to copy that name and drop it in here. FPS counter. Okay, we don't need Unity we need Unity Engine. We don't need systems collections, but we do need, in order to access that UI that we just created, oh gosh, I think it's in Unity Engine.ui is what we need. I hope that's right. Okay. So first off, we want to grab a reference to the text part of that object that we've created for the FPS counter. So what we want is we'll do a private text, and then the text, okay, because this is a reference. And in the start, we'll say the text equals get component as a text. There you go. So now we've got a reference to the text, and now we can say the text dot text. Okay, so the text dot text is, if I go to, where are we at here? This right here. Okay, so this is the FPS counter, the text. Okay. It would say equal to quote. We'll just put in testing semicolon. Okay, just to make sure that everything's working right. And then I'm going to take this counter. Did I spell that right? Yeah, I guess I did. And I'm going to drop it right on this FPS counter. Let's say add component. And let's run that. If it works, it should change this FPS counter to testing. And there you go. It's working fine. So very nice. Okay, guys. So we're doing well. Now we just need to make some calculations. So here in the update function, what we want to do, remember, update fires once per frame, right? So this is a good place to calculate our frames per second. I think what I want to do is create a public float update interval. Is that spelled right? And we'll set this to a default of 0.5 seconds. Okay, so what we want here is every half a second we want the frame counter to update. So it's not, we don't want it updating every frame. You would actually be able to read it if it updated every frame. You want it about every half second or so. Okay. So here, what we'll also need, since we're going to do that, this is kind of the same idea as what we did before. We're going to need a new float. What do we call this? What did I call it before? Do I have it here? Under random light. Position time change, intensity time change. Okay, let's do this. Let's just be consistent. So we'll say FPS time change. And we'll set that equal to 0.0. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is say FPS time change plus equals time dot delta time. Okay. All right. If FPS time change is greater than update interval, this is basically exactly the same thing we did. We're going to do that. Okay, so basically at this point now, the text should not change for the first half second. Let's go ahead and check it out, see if that works. So for about half a second it should say FPS counter and then it should change. Let's see if that, yep. I presume you guys all saw that. If you didn't, go rewind the video. Of course, half a second isn't a lot of time to actually look, but that's all right. Actually, we can even fix that. We can go 2 seconds. Down here, run this, and there you go. It says FPS counter, and now it says testing. So let's set that back to default. Okay. So that's all working. All right. Here's what we want to do, guys. We need to in order to calculate frames per second, we need two things. We need the number of frames and the number of seconds. Now, the number of seconds is actually fairly simple. Private float accumulated seconds. And we'll set this to 0 to start off with. So we're going to say accumulated seconds. Boy, which would help if I could spell before I did this, right? Plus equals, same thing, time dot delta time. Actually, I'm going to adjust this. Time dot time scale divided by time dot delta time. Okay, how do I this? this thing right here, you can adjust the time scale kind of as a global variable. This will cause time to slow down. Okay, by doing this, we have an accurate count of the accumulated seconds. This is really going to be equal to this value. Timescale and delta time will be the same. Okay. I think that's right. I might have these backwards. I'm wondering if this should be 1 and this should be upside down. Well, let's find out, guys. I'm not 100% positive about this. I might have those upside down. So, I'm going to change this. Frames per... Actually, let's just go FPS. Everybody knows what FPS stands for, right? So let's go accumulated seconds plus FPS. All right. Let's see what happens when we run that. It's not going to work exactly right because we aren't resetting accumulated seconds, but let's just take a look. Okay. So you can see what I was saying. It's updating too fast, and the reason it's updating too fast. Okay, a couple of things. We never reset accumulated. We never reset FPS time change. So let's do that. 0.0f. So now it should only go every half second. There you go. Now it's just bouncing up, right? Not really what we want. So we need to reset accumulated seconds back to 0.0f. After it reports. Whoops. I'm so used to hitting that button, guys, for my other for my work project. But you're not really supposed to do that in Unity projects. So there you go. Now what we're reporting here, guys, is seconds. Okay. This isn't actually the right calculation. And we also need a space in here. Okay. What we need is another private integer frames. And we'll set this equal to 0. Okay, and down here we'll set frames equal to 0. And then here we're going to say frames plus plus. We'll just increment it. Okay, because remember, this update runs once per frame, so we're just counting the number of frames that have passed, and we're counting the number of accumulated seconds. So what we should end up with is frames per second, and I'm just going to go ahead and put in a float FPS, and we'll say down in here FPS equals frames divided by accumulated seconds. And then here we just say frames, just FPS. All right, that should work. That should give us frames per second, right? This frames is frames per second. And hopefully I've got that working right. So let's find out. Okay, it's totally not working right. Alright, do I have that thing upside down? I might have this upside down. I'm going to take this out for a minute, just to check something out here, guys. Oh, don't hit that button. Bad. Yeah, there you go. We're reporting 59 frames a second, which is slightly less than actually what the Unity counter's saying. Okay. All right. Give me the code. I'm going to put back in that scale. It should be 1. Yeah, okay. I'm just curious, gang, what happens if we... Oh, I've really got to stop doing that. If we put the accumulated time up top rather than down below. Huh. Well, there you go. It's quite interesting that we're locked at 60 frames per second. I'm wondering if we've got a lock in here somewhere. Let me look at the project settings. Okay, guys, we're sitting right at 59 frames per second, just a little under 60. I rather suspect that we're frame locked. And the only way I know to unlock the frame is to do this. Application dot target frame rate equals -1. Let's see what that does. No, we're still sitting at 60. That's very odd. Okay, focus on this torch for a second. Let me turn off that light. Something's going on here, gang. Yeah, we're still sitting right at 59. Okay, we're somehow locked into this frame rate. That's too low for this simple of a scene. I guess for the moment I won't worry about it. I'm going to try to figure out where to unlock that, because I know I've gotten higher frame rates than that before. So I must have had this problem at one point or another in the past. So yeah, I'll figure that out and then I'll let you guys know. Okay. But anyway, the point being, our frame rate counter is now working. Very nice. Let's enhance it a little bit. Let's see. Let's go back to the code. Right here, if FPS is greater than 30.0, let's see, the text dot color equals, what do I want to put for this? It's an excellent question. Color dot, let's change that a little bit. Red. And I'm going to say 10, less than 10. There we go. Else if FPS is less than 30.0, let's put these floats. The text dot color. Oh, I cannot spell today, can I? Of course. What else is new, right? Color dot yellow. Else. Okay, I don't need brackets for this, thank you. Not terrain full. The text dot color equals color dot green. There, now we've color coded our our little system. So let's see how that works. There you go. So now we kind of got a color going. We can tell immediately if something gets if it gets below 30, it'll go yellow. If it gets below 10, it'll go red. And we can adjust that later on, guys. Okay, so that's the FPS counter. That's probably, believe it or not, the hardest of the bunch. Yeah, really, there's nothing else to it other than that. So let's go ahead and grab our light counter. Well, actually, no. Let's go down here and create a C# script, and we'll call this light counter. All right. So this is going to give us a count of all the active lights that are in the scene. So let's go ahead and open this up. Okay, so the light counter, in the start function, I'm going to put num lights equals 0, and we'll put in here private integer num lights. Okay. Should I need the update function? I don't think I need this. So in this case, what I want to do, guys, here is invoke a repeating function. We haven't done this yet, but it's pretty simple. So invoke repeating simply invokes a function, show lights, and then we're going to call it show lights, and then the time, which is the initial time. So we want to start at time 0, and the repeat rate. So I'm going to repeat this every 1.0 seconds. Okay. Now it's not going to like that at first because I don't have this function. So let's put this in public void invoke. Oh, sorry. Show lights. Okay, no parameters. And this should, whoops, didn't put a comma in there. That's the problem. It's like, why is that still showing as an error? Okay, there you go. Okay, so once every 1 second, this function is going to fire off. Okay. Let's go ahead and get a text. We need Unity engine.ui in order for that to work. There you go. And we need to say that the text equals get component text. So that grabs the text, and then we could say the text equals num lights. And we'll put in just some wording here. Number of active lights plus num lights. Oh, duh. Okay. So there we go. That's what we want. Okay. So that's it. That's pretty much all there is to it, except for we actually have to count the lights, but let's just make sure this is working. So I'm going to grab this light counter, and I'm going to drag it onto light counter. And there you go. Now that should give us the number of active lights. Very nice. Okay, guys. One more thing we have to do. We have to have a way to increment and decrement the lights. So I'm going to make this public void increment light, and I'm going to say lights plus plus, and public void decrement light. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. We could make this a property, and then use a get and set function, or just the set function really, to do this. However, that would make it appear in the editor, and I don't really want it to. We could hide it in the editor. I mean, there's various ways we could do this, but let's keep it to that for right now. Okay. Right. We got to be able to use these. The torches have these toggles attached to them. So what I'm going to do here is say FPS counter dot whoops, not FPS counter. What am I talking about? Light counter dot why can't I do that? Dot instance dot increment light. And the same thing down here, except we'll say decrement light. That's light. Okay, now we need the instance. So here in the light counter, I'm going to put in a let's see here. This needs to be public and also needs to be static. Light counter instance. Okay. And then if I'm not mistaken, again, guys, I'm doing this off the cuff, so forgive my kind of flailing about here. So in the torches, or sorry, in the light counter, they're not here. Okay, do I need to do that? Let's check this out. Alright, go to the light counter, the torch toggle. These should be working. Ah, because I never set the instance of the torch. That's why. I set the variable, but I didn't set the instance. Okay. That would explain it. Under start, this is just very simple. We just say instance. Dang it. Alright, let's try that again. Instance equals this. Alright. So, what that's doing, guys, is it's setting this script. This is a keyword that says this script. Okay, the script that's attached to this particular object is putting it in this instance. So that torch toggle knows we want to go to the light counter script, to the instance of that light counter script, and increment the light. Okay, we could also make these static functions, and we would have to go through this instance thing, but even if, again, two different ways to do the same thing. Let's see if that works. And not so much. Let's see if this works. Okay, I'm getting the problem here. I'm not really seeing. Alright, when all else fails, start adding debug statements. Log, quote, int, light. Yeah. Shh. Okay, let's look at the console. Clear this. Something's wrong. Oh, nope, now it's working. For no apparent reason. Although I seem to have 18 active lights. Okay, guys. So yeah, it's working. We're not getting a proper count because we're hitting light torch too many times, and that's because light torch is being called a bunch of times. That's the reason. Not just once per torch. So let me. If there's a better way we can figure this out. Well, I don't want to spend too much time on it, guys. The reason being is we're going to change the location of where those light counters are coming from. They're not going to sit here. They're going to be a different script which we haven't written yet. And we could write another script, like this little mini script to actually get an accurate count, but I don't want to do that. We just end up erasing it anyway. So the important thing is these are working. Okay, if we go ahead and run Unity, okay, and then I grab the torch. So right now we're sitting at 22 lights. If I toggle him off, oh, we're at 60 now. $62. You can see it's changing. It's not changing accurately, but that's okay. For right now, that's fine. Okay, we'll fix that later on. Okay, let's create another C# script. We're going to do another one, and this is going to be the distance check. Check counter. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and drop this guy right up on the distance check counter thing. Let's open him up. Yeah, reload. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. At the moment, guys, we don't have a distance check going on in the game, but we will. And we want to, because distance checks are kind of expensive, we're going to count them. So first off, we're going to do the same thing we did before. I grab an instance of the check, and in the start function I'm going to say instance equals this. Okay, so that gives us an instance in other scripts for him to be able to grab the function. And all I'm going to put down here is public void increment check. And we're going to say num checks plus plus. And down here we'll put a private num checks equals 0. Okay. We'll do another invoke repeating. So invoke repeating. And hey, stop that. Show checks, comma, start at 0, do it every 1.0 seconds. There you go. I don't need the update function. Let's get rid of this. And then we're going to do public void. Do I need that to be public? You know, I don't think I do. Did I made it public over here. I wonder if I can make that private. I might not be able to because it's an invoke repeating, but let's check it out. I don't know why you put in a function there. Pain in my butt. What's going on? Oh. Why am I getting errors? Because I didn't put in a type. That's a good reason. Oh yes, we need to put in the Unity engine.ui so that we can grab an instance of the text. So we'll say private text, and the text equals let's see here. We'll just copy this function over here so I don't have to type it out, because obviously my typing skills are very bad today. So the text equals quote, and we'll say number of distance checks plus checks. There you go. And then what we're going to do is reset. Here, per second. And then we'll say num checks equals 0. So every time we do a distance check, we're going to call this function increment check. That's the way this is going to work, guys. So then this will tell us how many checks per second, because we're running this every 1 second. So I don't have to really keep track of the amount of time that's passed through the update function and all that kind of stuff. This may not be the most super accurate, because this isn't really guaranteed to run every 1 second, but it'll be close enough for what we're doing. For just this simple kind of display, that's good enough. We don't need anything hyper accurate. Okay. All right. So that should run okay. And there you go. My number of active lights isn't working. My number of distance checks isn't working either. What's going on with that? Why is this not putting in this number? Alright, let's try making that public. Maybe it doesn't like that. That might be why I made it public in the first place. No. Okay, it is changing it, because that's not the original text. It might be cutting it off. Darn you. Let's see if it's or just overflowing. Yeah, that's what's happening. It's just overflowing. All right. Let's let's focus on that. Distance check counter. I'm going to give you a width of 250. And we'll drop you back over here. There we go. Okay, let me change that to private again. Cool. All right, there you go, guys. I think everything's good. We're all set up. We got a frame rate counter, which is somehow locked to 60. I don't know why. I'll look into that. We've got a place to set our active lights, which right now is not setting. But if I click on this, it starts jumping around. Again, because we've got the increment light thing in the wrong place, basically. We'll fix that later on. And then the number of distance checks per second, 0. Again, we have a place to set that, so we should be good. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I want to do in this video. So I'll leave it off here, and we'll pick this back up in the next section where we'll start getting into distance checks to the torches and start figuring out all their level of detail kind of stuff. Fairly complicated script coming up, so should be interesting. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot.